Wall Street used to laugh at Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Then they started quietly buying behind the scenes. And now they're right out in the public with their intention to make this one of the biggest financial industries in the world. In this video, I'm going to show you how and why investment firms, hedge funds, and Wall Street are embracing crypto like never before, and why recent significant events signal a turning point for cryptocurrency as a whole. The reality is, not long ago, Bitcoin was a joke to Wall Street, but a lot has changed in the last 12 to 18 months. BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager in the world, filed a spot Bitcoin ETF, which is now their most profitable ETF of all time. On top of that, we're seeing publicly traded companies like Tesla, Block, and many others hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet. We've even got the traditional financial giants like JP Morgan Chase and Goldman creating their own crypto products. This is no longer some fringe investment. Main Street Capital is moving in. But rather than hear it from me, let's first hear it from their own mouths. Now, before we dive into this content, I just want to quickly say I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Always do your own research, and this is for education purposes only.
What do you mean by digital?
I do believe we're just at the beginning of the tokenization of all assets, from real estate to equities to bonds across the board.
It's very loud here.
It's very loud, but it's good. Capital's at work. Right?
You like that?
I love capital at work.
Yeah.
There's $4.1 trillion of money in globally in digital wallets. A lot of that money is outside the United States. If we could tokenize a ETF, and digitize that ETF, we could have investors who are just beginning to, invest in markets through, let's say, crypto. They're investing in it, but now we could get them into the more traditional long-term retirement products. So we look at that as the next wave of opportunity for BlackRock over the next tens of years.
But how do you think about either you or Cantor?
I don't have a big enough percentage. I probably have, no, I can't say, because then people can figure out the money and how much I have. I would say I have hundreds of millions of dollars.
Okay.
Hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars exposure to Bitcoin. And it will be billions.
I was going to say, so next year when you come back and we'll do this again and you'll be a Bitcoin billionaire and
but you remember that model I told you? So if every time Bitcoin dips, I'm going to be the buyer. Right?
Trust me, I know why you're doing the lending.
It's all coming. You're figuring it out.
Listen, you don't have to explain that one around here.
So I got the 50% Bitcoin, I got the Bitcoin lending, but basically what you're going to see is Cantor Fitzgerald is going to be the sponsor of Bitcoin into traditional finance.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting to see some of the biggest names in finance talk so bullishly on crypto. Let's take a look at a few more. Take a look at this. Forbes declaring the President of the United States one of the largest Bitcoin holders in the entire country. And look at this chart of publicly traded companies acquiring Bitcoin. Look at the growth rate. It is a hockey stick straight up. Publicly traded companies own almost 5% of the entire Bitcoin supply. And don't forget, Bitcoin is finite. There will never be more than 21 million tokens. So as this comes off the market, the price typically will have to rise if demand increases, which based on this chart, it's increasing. We've got the $400 billion US Bancor announced to form a new unit focused solely on Bitcoin. And check this out, it's not just the United States. Europe's largest asset manager is going to launch their own Bitcoin ETF. We've even got the SEC chair, Paul Atkins, saying the United States government is giving Bitcoin the stamp of approval. The question you have to ask yourself is, why are the smartest financial institutions on the planet adopting crypto? Why are they deciding now it's time to get in? Why have they decided to embrace Bitcoin and crypto after they mocked it for years? I believe this is coming down to a couple of fundamental reasons. Number one, inflation and debt. It's no surprise, everyone knows the US's debt is getting out of control, as is inflation. Just go to the grocery store and take a look at your bill compared to just a few years earlier. Throughout human history, fiat currency, which is the type of currency we use and every other country uses, which is backed by nothing but the belief of the country itself and of the government, has historically lost significant value, eventually going to zero on a long enough time horizon. Think about it. If you had $10,000 in 1925 and you stuffed it under your mattress, how much was that $10,000 worth then versus now? You could have purchased a house in 1925 with that $10,000, but because the money has inflated so much, the value has decreased. And that's what happens with all fiat money. The second reason I believe they're adopting it is they understand it's a store of value. On a short time horizon, I don't believe Bitcoin is a great store of value because it's proven to have massive volatility, right? The ups and downs are huge. But on a long time horizon, Bitcoin has always gone up. There's a number of reasons I believe that has happened. But one of the biggest and most important is the fundamentals of Bitcoin itself. Bitcoin is one of the only true deflationary assets on planet Earth. What I mean by that is the way the Bitcoin code was written was in such a way that every 4 years, it would become twice as hard to make another Bitcoin. Bitcoin is made by having your computer solve a complicated math problem. They call it mining. And globally, there is only so much Bitcoin that can be produced per day. And every 4 years, that number cuts in half. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin, and we've reached nearly 20 million Bitcoin in about 17 years. When you think about it, you figure, oh, well, we're going to get to the last Bitcoin in maybe 5 more years. But the reality is, because of the deflationary mechanism, it's going to take another 115 years to get to the last Bitcoin. If you think of simple supply and demand, if the demand remains the same, but the new supply is cut in half, what happens to the price? Imagine you owned a bunch of gold mines, and every 4 years, the government showed up and said you're only allowed to produce half as much gold. What would you do? The only logical thing as a business owner would be to raise the price of gold. That is one of the main reasons among many why Bitcoin's price has continued to climb non-stop on a long enough time horizon over the past 17 years. Number 3 is client demand. Of course, these financial institutions want to make money. They see an opportunity here as high net worth individuals and now regular investors want to own Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And last but not least, I believe is regulatory clarity. Previously, it was a very gray area. The government didn't know what to do with it. Of course, Wall Street's not going to touch an asset that could be outlawed next week. But now, the regulators have given Bitcoin a green light, along with many other cryptocurrencies, which opened the door to accredited investors and big money all over the world. Essentially, Bitcoin is becoming less of a speculative gamble and more of an asset and store of value. Let's talk about why this matters to you. When Wall Street moves into something, they don't do it by accident, and they don't do it to lose money. For retail investors and business leaders, this isn't necessarily a signal to copy exactly what they're doing, but it does force you to pay attention. It's now more important than ever to understand what Bitcoin is and why it matters. Because by the time all of the traditional financial advisors say, yes, it's time to allocate some money into Bitcoin, it's already too late. Now, when I talk to most business leaders and accredited investors, they tell me it's already too late. They're upset they missed the boat. Well, I'm here to say I believe we're in the first or second inning. Sure, we're not tailgating in the parking lot still, but we are a long way from the finish line and a long way from the end of the game. Whether you participate in this ecosystem or not, it's going to continue to grow, with or without you. The question is, do you want to spend a little bit of time to understand this brave new world, or do you want to just put your head in the sand and try to ignore it ever existed? To me, that's the equivalent of saying, I don't want to learn this internet thing. I'm going to continue to do business as I always have because it's 1993 and I don't want to change a thing. The companies that did that are the Blockbusters and the Kodaks, companies that did not embrace the new technology. And we all know how those stories turned out. So if you're a business leader or an accredited investor and you want to understand this brave new world, but you're not sure where to turn, you've watched things on the internet, but you don't know who to trust, we have a solution for you. I've created a training program specifically for business leaders and accredited investors that want to understand the world of crypto and capitalize on it. We've worked with extremely high-level investors and entrepreneurs, people with a net worth in the multiple 8 figures, and we've helped them understand and master the world of cryptocurrency. If you want to go from a novice to a pro that's harnessing tools that most people don't even know exist, then I invite you to scroll down below and schedule a call with me and my team. We can see if you're a good fit for the program and help you along your journey. There's always a turning point when a new technology comes out that it moves from the super risky to the necessary, and I believe we've hit that point. Either way, I hope this video has been valuable for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video.